I am late for workout. Thought I was late for workout, but turns out Ben's not even here yet. Ab day is my favorite day. I'm seeing some improvement. I'm able to do sit-ups a lot easier than I was a few months ago.
This is a loaded gun. And it's kind of scary because our neighbors, there was a gunshot like yesterday and there's a lot of screaming and shouting today, so I called 911 and we're gonna sit here with a loaded gun for Q&A.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Today's Q&A is going to be a little bit different. We try and do Q&A on Wednesdays, but today we're going to focus on one question in particular that came on a vlog post about 2 weeks ago. I think the vlog was titled, "What would you do if your kids came out as gay or transgendered?" Sarah posted this question and I really liked it, so I'm gonna read the entire thing. She says, "I feel like I have to probe a little deeper into your answer to the question about having a gay or trans child. The sense I got from your response was that the hardest part of that scenario for you would be adjusting to your child's future being different from what you've known or envisioned for them.
Since you believe that the Bible is clear about God's moral law and His intention for marriages and families, sharing that seems to be a huge part of your vision for this vlog, and you've talked a lot about how pornography is destructive to God's intent for sexuality and relationship within marriage, I'm surprised you wouldn't have addressed your take on homosexuality or transgenderism within God's intent for family and marriage. What do you believe the Bible teaches about it, and how would you work through that issue in relating to your gay or transgendered child? What might that look like, especially depending on their profession of faith?"
Of course, it's important to love your child no matter what and to try and understand them, but I think that if they are doing something obviously wrong and destructive like stealing or abusing their spouse, behaviors that some of us are born predisposed towards, you would also plead with them to see the destructive nature of the path they're choosing. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can love someone just as they are without trying to fix them, but still radically disagree with their choices and behavior and plead with them to see the destructiveness of the path they're on. Should I finish that? I think of the example Paul sets in Ephesians 4 and Colossians 3, exhorting and admonishing them to turn away from immorality.
These are hard questions and hard teachings. What the Bible teaches about immorality, especially sexual morality, is so very culturally unpopular at the moment, and I fully expect to be crucified for what I'm saying. But I've never known you guys to shy away from expressing unpopular, alternative, or even radical views on things, especially when you feel compelled by what the Bible teaches on the subject. It's one of the many things I admire about you guys and love about your vlogs. Maybe it was because the question didn't specifically ask whether you believe homosexuality and transgenderism are wrong, but I was kind of surprised that it didn't seem your beliefs about these issues informed your response to the question. And I had hoped, at least, that you would be transparent about your understanding of what the Bible teaches on the subject. Now I'm just confused about what you believe about this. Any chance of clarification?
Yes. We will try and clarify right now, but it's going to be hard. But I am so glad that you brought this up. I think this comment has 7 likes. So it's something that other people were thinking also, and I hope you weren't crucified for asking this, because I think this is a great question. In fact, I'm really excited about this because I think there's so much here. Now, if I remember right, the question was,
what would you do if any of your children told you they are gay or transgender? Would you be supportive, or would it take a while to accept it?
and you're right, Sarah, our beliefs about these issues don't have to do with that question about how to treat with our kids. And I think the reason for that is there's a question of like, what do we believe about an issue? And then there's a separate question about how do we treat people. And I think these actually are two separate things. And that's what I'm so excited about this question is we're gonna be talking way more about how to deal with this wrestling with treating people and still maintain integrity on issues instead of talking about homosexuality actually, because I think it's actually far more interesting and it will change the way we treat a lot of people, not just people that are gay. So to start off with, you know, you say that the hardest part of the scenario, the impression you got was that for us it would be adjusting to our child being different from how we'd envision them. And yeah, for us that would be the hardest scenario because kind of the prerequisites that I was thinking about this question is I'm assuming our kids are already gonna know what we believe. You know, there's not gonna be this big question like, oh, do mom and dad want me to be gay? Would they prefer it? Do they think it's like a really great thing? Our kids don't wonder those types of questions. You're right, we have pretty firm beliefs. We're not super wishy-washy about it, although we have grown and changed and evolved. If our kid says, oh, I'm gay, or we could use other examples. They could say, oh, I'm using hard drugs right now. You know, my biggest question is gonna be like, oh my gosh, okay, how am I gonna like deliver this message to my kids? That's not my most tough thing. I worry about that with this vlog, but with our kids, like, they know what we believe already.
What we believe about how we treat people has come from 12 steps, because the serenity prayer is like, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if our kids already know our belief on it, I don't think any pleading of words is gonna like do anything really for them to be like, oh yeah, I won't be gay now. Okay, yeah, you're right. I just don't really see that.
Well, and built into the original question was what would we do if they came and told us that they were gay? Not what would we do if they came and asked our opinion. Yeah. If they're like, hey, I'm thinking about becoming gay or acting gay or getting a sex change. What do you think, mom and dad? That would be a different question for us. And that's, you know, that's a totally different topic.
Otherwise it'd be this like battle of like trying to change their mind. And anytime I've tried to change someone's mind, it hasn't really gone very well. Unless
they're open to it.
Yeah.
You know, they're like wanting it and they're asking you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the easy question, honestly.
Yeah.
If my kids are like, hey, what do you think about stealing? Or what do you think about porn? Or what do you think about masturbation? Or what do you think about being gay? I can answer that.
Right.
But how to treat them when they're not asking my opinion anymore.
And they've already decided for themselves.
Yeah, that's a tougher thing for me. Then there's this paragraph, of course it's important to love your child no matter what and try to understand them. But I think that if they are doing something obviously wrong and destructive, like stealing or abusing their spouse, you would also plead with them to see the destructive nature of the path they're choosing. I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you love someone just as they are without trying to fix them, but still radically disagree with their choices and behavior and plead with them to see the destructiveness of the path they're on? I guess in a sense, yeah. I think you can plead with people and say like, please stop killing yourself. But there's this other question, I think, about how do you deal with people that are set in their decision? Do you continue to plead with them?
Yeah.
And what does that do to a relationship?
Yeah.
And what can you actually really love and accept them when you're totally fixated in defining them by one characteristic or one sin? Especially, and this is the words you used, kind of like the obvious ones. And growing up in the Christian faith, you know, people were all about helping other people. And they were all about helping them on the obvious sins, which feels really noble in a way, because like we're helping them and like, oh, can't you see, like being an alcoholic is so dangerous and you're killing yourself and I want to stop you. But there's something else that's like a little bit sneaky that happens under the scenes when you try and help someone with an obvious sin, and it's that you take on this position of like, I'm kind of better than you. And we've felt this, we've been the victims of this, but
And
more than that, yeah, we've, I think, hurt other people really with the best intentions, I think, like to try and help them.
Well, in a way, we didn't know better. Like, we thought, like, this is what being a good Christian is. And I want to be a good Christian.
And now, I feel an incredible passion towards trying to live a moral and upright life for myself. And trying to model that to my kids. And to teach my kids and proclaim to my kids what I consider to be the good news or the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is that Jesus died for you so that you can be accepted and loved by God for who you are right now, not because of anything you've done or not done. Mm-hmm. That's what we deliver to them. It's good news.
Because we just assume we're in a war and that everyone is being told you're not lovable, you're not acceptable, whether you're Christian or not Christian, whether you're gay or not gay. Everyone's being like told this lie. And so I feel like we're like, that's like our main war to fight against, not...
Yeah, that's like the bigger issue. So when it comes to other people, I used to feel an incredible burden to try and lead them towards living moral lives. And I don't really feel that burden anymore with other people and even our kids. Like, we try and model for them that I think morality is better and it leads towards life and God, and immorality leads towards pain and destruction and separation from relationships and God. But I'm also like just in this mindset that we need to leave room for people to make mistakes and to choose that, because God allows that with us. Like, He lets us make mistakes. And I don't know, maybe He does some pleading, like I think there's times when He does that, but very rarely was it, like, did it seem to be over like a tiny issue. And I say tiny because the whole gay thing, it is like big. I mean, I think sexuality is huge, but I think it's become larger than life for the spiritual landscape that we're on right now. It's like the issue. It's kind of like abortion. It's like, are you on this side or that side? And I don't think God's like super fazed by it. I think it's one of those things that comes up periodically throughout history. Like, you see it, it comes and it goes, and it's like, you know, it's a fad and it's popular. But I think what you were saying was really important about, on a certain level, we believe that you always have to choose whether you're going to take the kind of like the moral high ground, the smaller hill, or whether you're going to take the bigger hill. I mean, let's take a smaller example. Like, our kid comes to us and said, they stole something. My gut as a parent is to take the moral stance and to be like, don't you know stealing's wrong? How could you do this? Like, stealing is bad. You could have hurt all these people, and like to really focus on the morality of stealing, which stealing is really destructive. But I think there's a bigger question, which is, if you steal, are you still loved? And the reason why this is important is because if you believe that when you steal you're still loved, I think that type of heart change is the biggest thing that can actually change your stealing behavior anyways.
And are you still as loved as I am, who hasn't stolen?
Yeah, and it's easy to look at little kids as like, or anyone for that matter, of like, oh, you stole, I didn't. You lie, I didn't. You're gay, I'm not. But when you look at it as like, hey, we all need God. You need God, I need God. You might need God this way, I might need God this way. The gospel becomes so much more valuable and important. In the last paragraph, Sarah says, maybe it was because the question didn't specifically ask whether you believe homosexuality and transgenderism are wrong, but I was kind of surprised it didn't seem your beliefs. Da, da, da. Really, we could make probably a 40-minute video about our beliefs about homosexuality and transgenderism. I'm a little bit scared to do it, not because I'm afraid to take a stance on an issue, but because of how nuanced and complicated it is to explain. and how quickly I think most people are just trying to put you on a box. People on either side, actually. And it's the boxes that frustrate me, not the stance, actually. I do think that this is a really important topic, and I want to just like brush on it because I don't feel comfortable saying that homosexuality and transgenderism are wrong. Those aren't the phrases I would use, and just like one benchmark or litmus test that I've been really careful of, or try to be, is if the Bible doesn't phrase it a certain way, I try not to take liberties to say things the Bible doesn't say. Now, I do think that homosexuality and transgenderism is outside of God's original design. I think that's important. I think God's design is important. But how to apply that in today's world is a bit more complicated, I think. You know, I'm really fascinated by how Jesus treated people. I mean, this guy, he had the corner on the market of morality. He had the right and the perspective to be able to rightfully judge anyone on the planet. And like just these examples of like these prostitutes that came to him, I'm always fascinated by what he said. I'm also fascinated by what he didn't say. It seemed like he could have said like, hey, don't have sex with men for money. Like, that's a thing, you know? Like, I think he didn't design the world for that. And I think...
Or to say, like, you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage. I mean...
Yeah. This is like basics, you know? Like Christianity 101. But it didn't seem like it really fazed him, their behavior, even though it was destructive. And I think it's because he was far more concerned with their hearts than just their actions. And with our kids especially, getting them to live our lifestyle would not be a win. You know, if in 20 years they're married with kids and they don't steal and they're not gay and they pay their taxes and they're making a bunch of money and they're little vloggers, but they're not like trusting in God for their identity, I would consider that a more dangerous place for them than if they're on hard drugs, in jail because of prostitution and gay, transgender, but they know that their identity comes from who Jesus is. That's more important to me.
It's a really powerful image. Because on the outside, the first person looks really right. But God doesn't look at the outside.
And it's hard because I have the feeling people are gonna say, oh, well, you're saying that it's okay to do all that stuff. And I'm not. Like, I just think there needs to be an order in which we approach it. And one of my heroes, a guy named Tim Keller, he says, you know, there's two kinds of Christians. There's lovers and there's workers. And he says, lovers always get more work done. In other words, if we are able to have our heart captured by God, the morality will come, you know, the work. That's a, you know, interchanging morality with work. But if you always just focus on the work, you're gonna have neither. You know, we're not capable of truly good work or morality. I mean, you might be straight if that's what your version of morality is, but you know, there's always, when God's looking at you, you don't want God judging you on your morality. Let's just say that. I'm straight, God.
I was gonna say, like, oh, you're straight, okay, never mind about all the other, like, immoral things that's going on in your heart.
So, okay, I hope this wasn't dodgy because I really am not trying to get out of the homosexuality question. I just don't even think it's relevant right now because this other topic is so much more overarching and will cover us when we deal with our kids when they disappoint us, even in small ways. Like, I remember the first time I saw one of my kids steal something from the grocery store and I wanted to come down on the morality train, you know, but they knew it was wrong. They already knew. And they knew that I knew it was wrong. That's why they were hiding it. So, Sarah, thanks for asking this question. My brain is fried right now. I think I drank this stuff really fast too, so I can't really think super straight right now. We're gonna go out on a date night now.
Yep. Don't know where we're going.
I wanna go someplace fancy.
Won't say no.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.